Phoenix City Council last night voted to approve a civilian community review board for police oversight. It was a 5-4 vote and gives the board the power to investigate Phoenix police shootings. Here with more, local attorney and former police officer Anthony Ramirez of Warnock, MacKinlay Law. Good to have you. Good to see you again.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. What did the Phoenix City Council approve last night?
Well, they had a choice last night between Plan A and Plan B. Plan A was submitted by Mayor Gallego, and Plan B was Councilman Garcia's plan. They went with Councilman Garcia's plan, which basically sets up a completely civilian review board. And that is going to basically give civilians oversight over the Phoenix Police Department.
How much oversight? And again, how much does that change? It seems like right now, a lot of police investigations in various levels. This sounds like it's a whole different ballgame.
It is. Right now there's really three investigative avenues that are in place right now. You have the Internal Affairs or Professional Standards Bureau with the Phoenix Police Department. You have the Civil Service Review Board. And you have the Arizona Post, which all can conduct investigations over police misconduct.
Will they still be conducting investigations with this civilian review board in place?
It's my understanding that they will, but as far as the Internal Affairs or Police Standards Review Board with Phoenix PD, they're not going to be doing it in conjunction or side by side with this review board.
So basically, you're going to have the review board, all civilian, right?
Correct.
And then you still have a Professional Standards Bureau. They're still going to do what they do, but these will be two trains on different tracks, and they're both headed right to the Phoenix Police Chief's office.
That's correct. And I've spoken about this topic with the high-level management leader there at the Phoenix PD, and the concern is that these parallel investigations are going to be being conducted, one by professional sworn law enforcement officers, and another by civilians with arguably no police experience. And that can create some conflict and major problems.
It can, but isn't it the responsibility of the police chief to take? I mean, if something doesn't look right on either side, whether it's standards or it's the oversight, the civilian oversight group, I mean, she still has to make that decision, doesn't she?
She is, but I think that could create some major problems, and I think that that's one of the major concerns. Right now, the two big things that I think need to be addressed are going to be the structure of this civilian review board. We still really don't know what it's going to look like and who's on it. Because if it's not staffed properly, and for example, if it's staffed with activists that have an agenda, that could create more problems and create conflict with the police union.
Do we know how much police input will be on whoever goes on that commission, that group?
That's a good question, but it's going to be very, very important. In fact, that's what was very important about Mayor Gallego's proposal, was that it was, a split between law enforcement professionals and citizens, this ombudsman model. And that, has support in other cities throughout the country. But, there's still problems with that. I think that it's more problematic when you have an oversight board that is completely civilian.
All right, so does this mean, do you think, fewer complaints against the Phoenix PD?
Well, it's hard to say, but I think, in my opinion, having been a police officer myself, I think that it's going to create more complaints. And I think it could potentially give an avenue to people to abuse the system. I know that one problem that I've seen personally is that it can actually discourage proactive policing. Police officers will be more hesitant now to proactively police and let things slide, if you will, if they see something, if they know that they're going to get in trouble for it.
On the other hand, could it mean fewer police-involved shootings?
It's hard to say. Councilman DeCiccio said yesterday, Phoenix isn't a bad police department. It had a bad year, or something to that effect. And it's hard to say.
It sounds as though there's also criticism from among the rank and file and others that there's concern regarding due process. Do you see that as well?
I think it's an issue. Look, as an attorney, if a client or a citizen makes a complaint against me, I'm investigated by attorneys. If a doctor has a complaint made against him, he's investigated by doctors. I think the rank and file police officer has a problem with individuals that have no police training. They don't understand the job, making decisions that can affect their career and their families.
And yet you have the other side, you have the community and community activists who are saying something needed to be done. Are you saying the Gallego plan, the Plan A, was a better option than Plan B, which was voted on and approved?
In my opinion, Plan A was a better plan because it was more balanced and it was more researched. That plan is actually in place in other cities, to my understanding. And when you have to have that balance in order to have less conflict. You have to have the police department, the police union, buy into it. You have to set it up to where you have minimal conflict. Otherwise, the program isn't going to work. And I think, my opinion, in having this completely civilian review board, I think that it's setting up for fail.
And we still have to figure out who's on the board and a bunch of other issues as far as the board's makeup, process, and these, because you can still have, correct me if I'm wrong, the city's civil service board. The police chief can say, that officer's fired, and the board can come right back and say, oh, no, he's not.
Sure. And, having that review board in place, it is another avenue, as we mentioned, to look at police misconduct. So not only do you have professional standards, you have the civilian review board, the civil service review board, and you have Arizona Post. So there are things that are in place that are already looking at police misconduct. This is just something that's been added on, and I think arguably some people would say it's a knee-jerk response to, a lot of political pressure.
Attorney and former police officer Anthony Ramirez, good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bet. Later on Arizona Horizon, the story of a Phoenix woman's song that inspired Martin Luther King Jr.